pressure on him? KD, Kyrie, or Harden? KJ and Z on Twitter, or hit us up, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Again, of course, Kyrie's got a championship. KD's got multiple championships. And James Harden, he's got more money than he could spend. He turned down a chance to be a $50 million a year player. You can just tell right now in his early 30s, prime of his career, the one thing that he doesn't have, as Jay likes to say, is the chip that Kyrie and KD do. So they're now together again, and the question still remains, which one of them has the most pressure? We'd love to hear from you. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, and this goes right to the heart of Kyrie Irving. Stephen A. Smith's going to join us here in just a couple of hours. The NBA's best insider, Woj, who broke the story, will join us in 1 hour. We are wall-to-wall NBA hardened this morning.
I thought I was the NBA best insider based on yesterday breaking news on NFL Live. Mean,
you have said since day one.
I broke the story on NFL Live.
You did.
I'm just kidding.
But you have always said since day one, if someone's not happy, you got to move them. And obviously that was proven true yesterday, but you've said that since the jump. Stephen A. Smith with some harsh words for Kyrie Irving. If you want to have your hand in many things off the court, great, more power to you. But maybe it's time to put all of your energies into that by doing this.
I think Kyrie Irving should retire. I think he should announce his retirement today. Clearly, you don't want to play basketball bad enough. Kyrie Irving has not prioritized basketball. I'm not saying he doesn't want to play all together. I'm saying he hasn't prioritized it. And how fair is that to the Brooklyn Nets? How fair is that to Sean Marks? How fair is that to Steve Nash, a coach that he endorsed bringing on board, a coach that he wanted, a coach that he fully supported? How fair is that to his brother, Kevin Durant? Go ahead and retire until you know that you're committed to playing.
You know, tongue planted firmly in cheek. He loves when I say that.
Oh, God.
Couldn't go through a show without you saying
I was
that.
just about to say that. I was going to say, Zubin, can you go through a show? I was just about to say that.
Planted firmly.
Sports anchors are always known for their cliches that I'm delivering here. Probably one too many. But just to that note, Kyrie did say we don't need a coach, so I'm not exactly sure Steve Nash is the coach. Again, Stephen A. is going to join us just after 8 a.m. Eastern, and in less than 1 hour, Woj is going to be here, who broke the story. All right, so Jay, what is the residual effect here for Kyrie?
Kyrie should not retire. I love Stephen A., man. I love him. He should not retire. I do agree with Stephen A., though, that Kyrie has not decided to prioritize basketball, because I think Kyrie is prioritizing some issues that are happening within our country. My issue goes back to how he communicates what that priority is, and how you work in alignment, in conjunction with your team, with your owner and your GM, about how you want to fix that problem ultimately. I think that's where there is a lot of white space that has been challenging for Kyrie to communicate that. If there's anything that should grab Kyrie Irving's attention, it is this trade. This trio is better than the trio that I saw when Kevin Durant went to Golden State, and that's with Klay Thompson, and that's with Stephen Curry.
Wow.
It's better than the trio that I saw with LeBron James and D. Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami. People are going to ask questions about how do you make it work. Here's how you make it work. Kyrie Irving, move off the ball. James Harden, you are on the ball. James Harden averaged around 10 assists per game. If you watched the game last night against the Knicks, Kevin Durant doesn't need the ball in his hands. He's kind of like Klay Thompson, not defensively like Klay, but playing off the ball a little bit to a degree. You can use him as a center. You can use him as a small forward. He can be involved in PNRs, pick and rolls for people out there. And also, he can turn face, score over anybody. There are going to be questions that you can have about this team defensively, but you can go out and find the right defensive pieces. You find that they're big before the trade deadline or around the trade deadline. This team has all the pieces because they can outscore anybody. Prolifically, who's going to stop this team offensively? You can't tell me the Bucks are. You can't tell me Philadelphia is. You can't tell me Boston is. They are the most gifted team on paper in the NBA.
I think they are a gifted team on paper in the NBA, and you said that they're more talented, the three, or a better three than the Miami Heat, LeBron Jameses, or the Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors. Maybe, right? We know.
Depending upon system, Key. I mean, system is another question. What system they play in is another question. But talent-wise, they are the best. I think they might be the best assembled in the history of the league.
Here's what I would say, and you know more about basketball than I do. But what I would say is individually, we've seen them collectively. I mean, individually, we've seen them. Collectively as a group, we haven't seen them, right? We don't know if they, and we assume they're going to be able to mesh together because they played pickup ball together and they kind of, they're professionals, they're pros, they know what it is, they know their roles, but it's always a what if, right? I mean, when you start to talk about assembling talent together, it takes a minute. Whether you are LeBron and Bosh and Wade, yes, they went to the finals in their first year, they did not win. Whether you are LeBron James and AD out in LA, it took a minute to get going. Once they got going, they got the rolling. Early on at the Lakers, LeBron's first year, he got hurt. You factor that in, that team was really nothing. But then when you look at Golden State, KD joined a team that had already won championships, so he had to kind of fit into what they were doing. Now you got James Harden coming over from Houston, and you don't, first of all, he's got to get into shape. So chicken wings and honey buns have got to be pushed to the side for a little bit. And once he gets into basketball shape, which I'm assuming is going to be at least a 6-week type situation before he starts to melt off some of the chunkiness that he has on his body. He needs to get his basketball, condition up. He knows it. I know it. You know it. I'm not saying anything disrespectful to him. But I think he can cook and he can do some things. But when you start to dribble, you say Kyrie off the ball, James Harden on the ball, but now all of a sudden dribble, and I'm now giving it to you with 5 seconds to go, 4 seconds to go. Do we run into a Westbrook, Chris Paul type situation?
No.
And I mean, I'm asking you, Jay, because you play basketball. Are we going to run into that dribble? Here you go with 4 seconds left on the clock.
Westbrook can't shoot. CP3 was a scorer. I mean, he's become a better shooter, but not the way that Kyrie and KD can shoot from a floor spacing perspective. And I look, the question that Zubin asked us on our Twitter poll, who's the most pressure on? Out of the players, it was James Harden, but don't get it twisted. The most pressure will be on this coaching staff, will be on first-year head coach Steve Nash. Now, Steve Nash spent time working with the Golden State Warriors underneath Steve Kerr. He's seen that continuity system that they had in place with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and KD. You combine that with Mike D'Antoni for a chance for him on a huge redemption tour this year because he implemented that style that they play with James Harden. You have to find a way to combine these styles to make that offensive system conducive for the talent you have on the floor.
It's going to be fascinating. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. The easy solution for the Wade, obviously. Key, you've got the vegan family. You live in Brooklyn. Harden's going to live in Brooklyn. Just invite James over. Have some nice, healthy meals at the Johnson household. That Wade will come right off.
She don't want him around me. I promise you that.
Give him some of that halibut that you feed your dogs.
Hey, Jay, she ain't gonna want him around me. We might get ourselves into.
Oh no! Stop!
Who could have thought we'd be more in trouble in the second segment than the first?